I'm Ben Greensmith. I am Chief Operating Officer at Propercorn. So I help run a premium healthy snack business that's proudly British and independent. So yes, we're based in Old Street. I live in Weybridge, so my morning is all about routine, without wanting to sound too dull. So without exception, pretty much, I get up at about the same time every day. I get up at about 6:30, and then I have got my morning routine down to a fine T, which involves a coffee at the station to wake up. On my train journey, I catch up on emails, particularly if I've been in meetings. So for me, Monday, Tuesday tend to be about meetings and one-to-ones with my team. The other thing I try to do is probably 2 times a week on a Thursday and a Friday, I get up a little bit earlier, which enables me to get to the gym, do a quick class, run home, get in the shower, and then I get into the office just after 9. So that's my treat towards the end of the week, but I find that helps me stay focused. Success is quite a personal thing, but for me, I think what's important is, in my work life, I have a bit of a view or an aim, which is that I want to help small businesses and businesses grow, get to the next stage, but also feel like I've made a difference and a bit of a legacy. And that legacy can transcend into my personal life as well, which is with my family and my son. So for me, it's a really personal thing. But if I come into work every day and feel like I've made a difference, then that's great. And I think coupled with that is finding that balance so that I have enough time and energy for my 7-year-old boy when I go home and to see my wife as well. So it's a really personal thing for me, but that legacy element's really, really important. I think one thing that's really big is listening. I probably do it more in my work life than I do in my personal life, but I think in order to succeed and get on, you need to be able to adapt, and I think a big part of that is listening. In the workplace, that's probably actively seeking feedback. At home, it's probably just being more present in conversations, particularly after when you've had quite a tough day. But I think that's a really big thing, and I think also balance. There's no point putting all your energy into one area if it leaves you nothing else to be fully fulfilled, if you like. So I think for me, being clear on what good looks like, where you want to get to, is really important. It's probably a bit cliched, but for me, meeting about 10 years ago, I was fortunate enough to spend a bit of time with Steve Williams, the double Olympic gold medalist, so the rower, and everything that he spoke about, it was part of a leadership course at Leander in Henley-on-Thames, so the rowing club, and everything that he talked about was how they as a team just focused on keeping the main thing, which was always just, is the boat going to go faster, and will it make the boat go faster? And if it didn't do that, they wouldn't do it. So they were constantly questioning, will it make the boat go faster? Will it make the boat go faster? And everything that they did as well was about just training, constant training, just for that one day, with the aim of just shaving like a millisecond off, which in the end, I think one of their races actually came down to, I think they beat Canada or something. But it's quite incredible. And I think that focus, that appetite to just be the best you can be, is pretty extreme, and there's only a few people who will get to those levels. But for me, that's the kind of pinnacle of success, when those guys are at the top of their game, but they are just meticulous in their preparation, which is quite incredible. So I think if I'm looking, and when I'm recruiting and looking to bring people into the business, what I look for and try to tease out is someone who's going to come in and make a difference. ultimately, one of our kind of leadership traits and behaviours that we look for is someone who leads by example. Because I think if you want people to basically follow you, you need to set the pace, the tone, the vision for where you want to go. And I think leading by example is a great trait to have, and something that I always look for when I'm bringing people in. So I think the other thing that's important in any leader is being, two things. One, a good communicator. There's no point having a plan and a vision and a view on where you want to get to if you can't bring people along the journey with you. And I think I'm a big believer in open communication within a business. Luckily for us, we're a small business, we're 35 people. So actually communication when we all sit together is pretty open, and we do a lot of that, and we talk as a team and as a business, and we update regularly on where we're going, and I think that really helps. And I think the other area that I would say is self-awareness. So having an understanding on the areas you're really strong in, and you can do more of and help coach and bring people along. But the other thing is identifying the areas where you might need a bit of support, and actually it's a good thing to lean on the team to get that experience and empower others to do it. So delegation's a big part of leadership. So I would say it's self-awareness, good communicator, and someone who leads by example is what I look for in any leader. So we're always looking for someone who can come in and make a difference. So one of the standard questions actually for anyone coming into the business is that I will ask them what their single biggest contribution, the thing they're most proud of at their prior business or over the last 2 years, and why they're most proud of that. Because I think what you get from that is a sense of, okay, well, what have they actively done? And we want people who can come in and make a difference and affect change. But also it gives you a bit of an insight into why they're proud of it. And it might not be the obvious answer that you think of, but actually you do get a bit of insight into the individual as to why they're most proud of it, and some of the challenges that they faced, and therefore how they went about affecting that change or delivering whatever it was that they delivered, which I think's quite important. And I think the other area would be what's the most insightful bit of feedback you've had on your leadership style, because that to me shows that they're open to feedback. And secondly, I will always ask them, so if that's the most insightful bit of feedback you've got, well, what have you done about it? Because obviously it's one thing receiving feedback, but then acting on it is really important as well. And I think that for me teases out, one, whether or not they're someone who will really lead by example, and two, whether or not they have that self-awareness and they're open to change and adaptation as well. So that's. I'm a big believer in. I don't think there's a massive amount that I would change. There's always bits and bobs, but not stuff that I'm going to say on camera. I think from a work perspective, I genuinely believe that I've learned from pretty much all of the mistakes that I've made along the way, which has helped me in some capacity get to where I've got to. I think if there was one thing that I would, and I say this to my team as well, and I say this to anyone, so it would probably be acting on the advice that I give my team, which is just take control of your own development a little bit earlier. I think I was quite, at an early stage, I was just quite focused on career and getting on to the next piece. But actually, what I've realised is that your career is I'm probably going to be working for the best part of 40 years. So it is quite a long game, and there's no harm in just repetition. And actually repetition, the more you repeat something, the better you get at it before you move on to the next thing. So it's probably one about pace in the early stages of my career and just embedding some of that learning without sounding too cliched. But I wouldn't change. I certainly wouldn't change anything in my personal life. But yeah, adapting a little bit, seeking feedback, and embracing my own development a little bit earlier would probably be my advice to myself. I would say so. At Propercorn in the last 4 weeks, we're now the number one premium popcorn brand in the UK and Europe, and I think it's certainly not down to me. It's as all good things, it's a team effort. But I think for the business to get to number one and overtake the competition when we are a smaller British independently owned business, so we're actually of any note, we're the last ones left, and I think to go up against the big guys as a challenger brand and get to number one is pretty significant, and I think it is testament to an entire business which is really working hard to make sure that our products are better than anyone else's, our packaging is better and sings more, our insight is better. The time we have with our customers has to be better because we don't have the luxury of hours and hours with our customers, so we have to use that time much more effectively and efficiently, and I think to do all that and get to number one is pretty phenomenal. It's something that we as a business are massively proud of. So I think one of the things is that, I mean, it's important to understand what the shopper, what the consumer wants, and we prioritize taste. So I mean, we're only as good as the people, we're only as good as the product that we sell, but I think 93% of people choose a snack with taste as the primary reason, basically. So we prioritize taste, we prioritize flavor. So firstly, it's the product that's really important, and the product's at the heart. Products and the people is at the heart of everything we do. And I think the other thing that we try and do is we try and celebrate the small things and understand the bits that really make a difference. And we try to go a little bit further as a team, as a business, in our culture, with our customers, to just surprise and delight. So that can be anything from the design of the packaging and the product, which helps store staff identify the packs when they're in the back of store, but also then helps us in terms of driving availability. It's those little touches that all come together to make what I think is just a really great and interesting and fun business. And I think, I'd like to think that comes through in the culture of the business as well. I think the big thing that's made a real difference to the everyday functioning and running of the business has been much more open and outward communication. So we have 5 really clear measures and objectives that we all track as a business, that ultimately means that it starts with where the business is going, and that filters down to the team and then the individual objectives. So we're all pulling in the same direction. And I think, one, putting those in place, but then secondly, communicating how we're doing versus those in a really open forum, with really open communication and I suppose a lot of trust within the team is really important. And I think what that's enabled us to do is share how we're doing. And if we're doing fantastically well, we celebrate. But if we're moving a little bit off track, then everyone knows that, and we kind of club together, and it enables us again to affect change a little bit more and make sure that people are really clear on what we need to do to basically get back on track. And I think that open communication, we now have an hour every month where we update on our objectives, how we're tracking, and we do a Q&A at the end. So any concerns or issues people within the business can raise, and they get answered there. And if we don't have an answer, then we can come back. But I think it's a massive part of a big business, is that open, honest communication. And I think if you do that, and then people will ultimately understand where you're going and help to pull the business in the right direction. So that's the big thing. I think one of the things that we do have is, which is inherent within our business, is the strength of the brand, and how it really resonates with our consumers, and consumers love it. So I think that's a really big thing that I think sets us apart from the competition in terms of, and it goes back to the piece around the kind of everything we do, every touch point we make sure is really spot on. I think the other thing that we do from a customer perspective is that we do invest in making sure that we have a really good level of support from an insight perspective, so that particularly when the shopper is key at the moment, and always should be, we are giving really strong advice that helps them grow. And I think if we can do that, then we keep the category growing and we grow as a result. And I think that's really important. But I think it is also the way that we treat our consumers, the way we treat our staff, the team. Everything that we do is trying to be the kind of best possible version of itself. So we kind of say internally that if doing, if making popcorn is a small thing, then doing it really well is a big thing. So which I think gives a kind of good insight into what we're about, which is just trying to make the best possible snack products that taste fantastic and that are also healthy, that people basically want to buy and be seen with. Yeah, I think lots of open questioning. I think one of the things that we always do here when we start any customer meeting is we'll, rather than just dive into talking about us, we will ask the customer about what's going on, how their business is, and the insight and the information you get from that is really, really important, and that helps you then tailor your conversations, but also your plans for the next half-hour meeting or whatever it is that you have. And I think I will try and speak less than the other person, because I think which is easy with my wife, but within a work scenario, I think it's I think it's slightly different. Best advice I have had, and it was from Richard Reed. So he was when I was at Innocent Drinks, he was my mentor. So this would have been about 5 or 6 years ago. Was just to be yourself, and I think what was great about that was it was to do with leadership and leadership style, and I think authenticity is really important with any leader. I think if you're not yourself, or you're not being yourself, or you're trying to be someone else, people can sense it. And the best advice I had from Richard, and I think to this day, is just be yourself. And I think that's really important. That's something that if you're talking with your team, or if you're facing into a problem, I think it's just really important just to be open and honest. Obviously, there's always going to be stuff that you do share and you can share and you can't share. But I think a good leader is an authentic leader, and I think to be really authentic, you just need to act yourself. So that is the best advice I've had. The Polaroid, reconditioned Polaroid camera, which I think they stopped making about 10 or 15 years ago. It's great because I always wanted a Polaroid, but I think probably when I was back as a student, probably couldn't afford one or couldn't really justify it. And I think what I love about it is I take a lot of photos. So something like Instagram, I use as a bit of a history of like kind of holidays and my family. So, but we never print stuff out. But actually, with a Polaroid, you get something instant and something tangible, which I think I do miss, because kind of back in my day, 10 or 15 years ago, you only saw the pictures when you took them to Boots to get developed, and then maybe two out of 20 of them were good. But there's something I love about that kind of old school Polaroid picture and just the look and feel of it. And I think it's a great way of capturing memories. So we've now got, in our bathroom downstairs, we've just got all the pictures from nights out, nights in, of friends, family, and it's just a great way of logging memories.